We're gonna learn animation in Moho and animate everything in Moho. It's easier than using a yo-yo, yeah. Now it's time to learn to use Moho.
Alright, I just want to show you guys an easy way in Moho to kind of work out your timing using traditional animation and then applying that to rigged animation. I'm just going to start by creating a different kind of layer, and this one is going to be a frame by frame layer right here. Now this is a different type of layer because basically along this bottom timeline you can make keyframes that will affect the flow of frames over time. So basically in here right now there's nothing in here, but we can create new frames of our animation every time we draw something. And that's how we're going to be doing it, is actually drawing each frame. So instead of on frame 0, I'm going to move to frame 1, and right here in the bottom corner you can see this plus sign, and that will add a keyframe. We need to do that every single time we're going to change what's happening or add a keyframe to our animation. So we just click on that button, and now you'll see a little gray box appear. That will turn lighter once we have something drawn in that keyframe. And I'm just going to make somebody jump, land, and we'll see what happens. So on frame 1, I'm just going to make a very simple body shape here in basically a running pose. Very, very well done, I know. And in an arbitrary point, about a second later, I'm going to create another frame. Don't forget to do that, and it will get rid of everything. How do you see the frame before? You just click on onion skinning, and it will let you see frames that you pick, and you can click it again to get rid of them. If you want to see a frame after, you just click on another frame, and it'll let you see that particular interval. So right now we've got just the frame 1, and now we've got the second frame on 24. This needs to be a different position. I say that this one needs to be the crouch down before the jump. So we're going to use our freehand tool, and we're going to come in over here and basically make something of the same size in a different position, like he is bent down. And I'm going to put the arms behind like this and the head here. So basically it will go from this pose to this one. And if you turn off onion skinning, you can see it goes from this one to this one. We turn on our onion skinning again. We can make a frame right after. In this line, just click and you'll see the beginning one and then the after one. It'll become more clear as we get more frames in here. So now we need a frame. I'm just going to go to 48. We can retime these later. And I'm going to draw a frame of the actual in the air pose. So, all right, so on 48, we need to make a frame. He will go, this guy here will go into red, meaning he's a previous frame. I'm going to make the head about where it's going to be, like so. And then make the back. The arms going back a little bit like this. The legs sort of like so as he's launching up. And then we're going to see that this goes from here to the crouch down to the jump up. And then the next frame we're going to create right here, add another plus. This frame, it's going to be the frame after he has jumped up and starts to come back down. So we can leave the head basically in the same place. This spine will come over here. And this is really just the change in position. So I'm gonna, I think, put his arms kind of at either side now. And the legs can still be somewhat like that. So he's gonna kind of come up, boom, boom, angle change, and then he's going to, let's just put our land on the ground pose here. So we need to copy not the first frame, but the second frame here. So we're gonna highlight the frame, we're gonna right click and copy, and then we're gonna go to the frame we want the drawing to be on and right click and paste. And now we'll have that again, but we're gonna have to move it. So don't move it as a layer. We're gonna do point animation here. So just click that, surround it, move it where you want it to be. About, you know, just below the angle. I mean, you can kind of judge where that needs to be. And then we can actually copy the first frame again to have him continue to maybe run away. So we're gonna copy that frame. And we're gonna make another one afterwards. So don't forget to create a new frame. So we need to select all of its points and copy. And we're going to go to the frame we want to paste it on, select that frame, and paste it in that frame. But then we're going to have to move it. Make sure you're not selecting this icon for layer, but that we're actually surrounding the points, which will give this, and then the move tool, which will give us this look. And then we can go ahead and make him maybe about over here. So now we're going to go from, with our onion skinning off, we're going to go from this frame to this frame to there, to there, to there, and there. So we can time it a little bit here if we want to. I recommend putting in a few extra frames first. So he's going to run from here and to the crouch position there. So we need an in-between for that of some kind. So we turn on onion skinning, and we're going to need to move this frame to after this one so we can see where he's coming from and where he's going to. So this will move with us as we go, but let's just put one right about the middle of where we're at, and we're going to see we need to draw something that's the middle of this and this, and don't forget to add your frame. And so basically a similar figure, but in a position that's in between the two. So I think it's going to be more like this running position at this point. And let's make it just like have a kind of a crossover pose. So the leg will kind of do this. This one will kind of be maybe a little more like that. And instead of back, we'll make this more down and this more down. And then we'll make our head. So what's going to happen is we're going to need to move this one. You can see it's too high. But we're basically going to go from the onion skinning off, run, slow down, pose, jump up. And also I think right here between the jump up or the crouch down, the jump up, we need a pose in the middle as well. It shows how it develops from here to here. So I think a standing pose from here would be a good idea. Now don't forget to add your frame right there. And now we can draw in, you know, our feet, this guy, our legs, and now we're going to draw the legs up, go into the body, the head, and I guess we're going to keep these arms kind of back. And now you'll see with the onion skinning off, what we get is basically he will run, crouch, launch, be up here, turn, and come down. So we need something in between here now. We're just going to add another frame. And on that particular frame, with our onion skinning on, we can now draw an approximation between these two. We can also copy that prior frame if we really wanted to. But I say, hey, just redraw it. It doesn't matter. Remember, this is just for the sake of timing for a real animation. This is just kind of your setup. So I'm going to draw the feet coming out here, the legs straight now, going up into the body, and then the body, and the head, and the arms are going to be, well, kind of in between this back bending pose, and kind of where they are now, so maybe more like this. So now with that onion skin turned off, you'll see this goes boom, 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 and crouches. And then he needs to get up. And I think we'll just use this same pose from here as his get up. So we just select it, we copy it, we go to where we want it to be, we add a frame, and we click on that frame, and then we paste it in. But then we have to move it, of course. We're going to just surround all of our points. Make sure you get all of them and move that forward with the onion skinning on, so you can see where in between this needs to go. And we will drag him over to somewhere in between. We can also go through and resize all of these if we need to. You get the idea. He jumps, turns, he lands, he gets up, and he goes. So now we can start working a little bit on the timing. I'm going to turn the onion skinning off, and we can see that just playing, you can start to get the sense of how this should play. So there seems to be quite the long delay between the crouch and the jump. So you can actually highlight your keyframes here by selecting them, and then you can retime them. And let's just take 3 or 4 of them actually, and you can retime them by holding down Alt and then taking the last one that you've got and moving them over, and they will rescale along that timeline. So now we have a little bit of a little quicker jump. So it's going to go up, and then there's a really long time between these 2 frames. So I'm going to grab these 2 and just move both of them over manually. That way that section will run faster. Okay, and then we need to take all these and move these over to retime those. So you want that jump and landing to be a little bit faster. So he'll jump up, boom, boom, boom. Okay, that's a good way to start your timing, and this starts to give you a really good sense of what you're going to need for your actual animation when we do that shortly. And we can do some more in-betweens if we really want to. Okay, what we're going to do is actually take this frame, right click, and we're going to copy it, move it here to the middle, and paste it right here. So we have a duplicate frame here now. And what you want to do, or what I want to do, is to take these points, turn on onion skinning, and now we can move that over just a little bit. You can see. And then what's cool is you can come in here and move the individual parts by just selecting the individual lines, because that's how they were drawn. And when you move them, you select them, and then you take your center point and drag it over to where you want it to pivot from. And I'm going to just rotate this backwards a little bit. And I'm going to do the next one by clicking off everything, grabbing that line, pressing move, and if you can't see your center point, just zoom in farther and figure out where it's going to be at and put it where it needs to be. And then you can, of course, rotate this one around now. And then do cool stuff like, let's get the back starting to move down. And the way I would do that was just grab his whole top half here like this. And now you can find the center point of it, which is going to be about waist height. And now we can lean that forward and even drop this down. So I'm trying to find a middle point between these 2 frames. And then we can grab this leg, same thing. And we're going to want our knee to be, basically kind of a mid-level. Looks to me like, for one, this guy needs to move lower. So let's just fix that real quick. So I'm going to go and turn the onion skinning off. Well, let's leave it on because that way we can see our floor level. And I'm going to highlight all the points of that particular guy. And we're going to make that lower because that's where it should be. Obviously, we have to change the next frame probably too. But you can see now that this looks like it goes to the correct spot, especially when we have this off. We can go do, squash, and then he jumps up. So the size is changing a little bit too. You can see in that squash, this one's a little too large. Turn on the onion skinning and we can kind of see it's working, but I think it's a little too big still. And I can just pull that down, move him down. And it looks a little more correct, I think. So this middle pose, once again, I kind of want to get these legs working. And you can grab just part of that leg now, the same way we did the other stuff. I'm going to grab this leg, but I'm only going to get, and I'm going to have to move that to kind of see what I'm doing. Let's just move it over here. And I only want to get the bottom half, or the top half of the leg, I'm sorry, like that. We can now move it, and we can also find the midpoint of just that piece, pull that up there, and now we can rotate that. But I think we should do the lower one first, of course. So I'm going to grab the lower part of the leg here. You can grab the knee dot as well. And when we move it, we're going to need to reposition the pivot like we just did. Whoops. By grabbing the pivot, putting it at the point of the knee that it needs to bend at, and then I'll just sort of start bending. We don't want this kind of a bend that much, but just enough. And I'm going to grab the whole thing, move it, and take its pivot point and put it here, and then rotate that. So now when we move it back to where it goes, he's going to have more of a bend. We'll have to move the whole figure down, but you get the idea. And we're going to grab the other leg now, and we can, if we want, move its pivot there, angle this one up like that. You get the idea. I'm going to have to bend this one first though. So I'm going to take these points so they don't get lost in the shuffle. We're going to move the midpoint to where it's going to bend from. We're going to bend like so. Matter of fact, we could probably even stay exactly like that. And so then what I want to do is move the entire figure down. So I'm just going to grab all of his dots, his points, and take those and move them to be floor level. You get the idea. So now with the onion skinning off, you can see that he will come in, he will bend down, has 3 positions from here to here to here, and then he will jump and land. Let's go ahead and kind of take a look at what it looks like all together. I think the jump needs to be a little faster, so we're going to come up here. So the point that he crouches, it's fine that this lasts a while because this is really going to be kind of a get ready. But then from the point this happens to here, I think is a little bit slow still. So I'm going to take everything and move it forward. Get the idea there now. And this one is probably needing to be a little closer too, because this all happens at the same time. So boom, boom, and then all this can come in a little faster too. You really just want to kind of crunch this together and adjust it. So this comes here. A little slow, I think, there. So let's try. And I actually want the crouch to be a little longer, because we can get up from there. This one though, boom to here, could be just as fast as the others because there's just as much time that goes by. There we go. So now you have the run in, the jump, the crouch, and then the get. So when this happens here, we need an in-between. We could probably steal the one right here. So I'm just going to select everything on that frame, or you can actually just copy the frame. Right click the frame, copy it, move forward to where it's going to be. This is going to be the get up somewhere in here. We can just right click and paste it right in. Then we'll have to move it, of course, because it's not in the right position or the right screen position. So as he lands and boom, gets up, that needs to happen right over there. So we could turn on our onion skin and kind of give him an in-between right there. You can see now as he gets up, we'll turn off the onion skinning so that's not so confusing, and you get the idea here. Boom, 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 boom. He jumps, he lands, gets up, and then starts to go. And there needs to be one more position probably between this one and the other. So we'll do the same, and then I think you might even have an in-between here. Let's see. No, there's not really a transition there. So we'll make one, and I'll just create a frame. I'll start drawing him out. Now we could duplicate that frame, which is probably the smarter idea. So I'm going to copy this one by copy. We're going to paste it right here. So we're going to have two identical ones. But this one we're going to actually make less of a position than that, if that makes sense. So right here I'm just going to, I'm not sure why we didn't get any dots, but I'm going to move this over to this frame. Alright, here we go. We're going to, it's up, we need a position here. So that one is the exact same one. And we need to grab all those points and move them in between the two of these. And this one will have less of an extreme pose as that one. So we can just grab the leg, we do the little move and the pivot move trick there. Pull this around. Maybe less of a bend. And then we grab these points here, move those, and this is just if you want to do this point by point. You don't even have to do it this way. I just thought it was an interesting way to show you how to manipulate a sketch. And that's real good there, huh? And then this one should also be kind of in a midpoint move and not so extreme. So a little more like this, and then we can take those bottom ones and do the same thing with them. Just gonna grab, move our midpoint over, rotate this a little more natural. We can do the same thing with the arms now. So we'll just grab the arm, move its midpoint or its pivot point, give that a little bit of a mid between this frame and this one. And this one I'm just going to move over, I think. It'll be fine. Same thing for this guy, just change your pivot point, and this will be between the first frame there, somewhere like that. And we just grab the remaining points at the elbow. And we can then move, change the pivot point. I zoom in and out a lot to be able to find that pivot point. And then this will be somewhere in between there and there. And then I think I need to grab the entire thing, so it looks like this guy's lower now. Whoops. So I'll just grab everything. I'm just using lasso mode. You can put that right here. And then I will go up. There we go. And let's just see what we've got now with the onion skinning off. Okay, we'll start over. Let's see what happens. All right, perfect. So after all that work, what we want to do is go into our layer settings for this layer. I'm going to double click it, and we're going to come into this animation layer. We're going to call this, I'm going to call it sketch. And we want to make our opacity about 20. And then that way, when we're on another layer, we can still see it, that it's really light. So now we're going to actually create a real animation that does the same thing using that timing. So very easily we can use shapes or whatever you want. So not inside there. That's just going to be our sketch, our animation. And now we're just going to create a character, and we can do this with shapes on the same layer or multiple layers. I'm just going to go ahead and do multiple layers here. So using our onion skinning again up on frame 1. Okay, so now we have to copy this guy from this frame onto our frame 0 so we can see it. So I'm going to copy this particular frame. and go to frame 0 and paste it on frame 0. That way, while we're working on the guy here, we can actually see the size, shape, or whatever of our figure. And we have all our drawing tools here now. So I'm just going to take some shapes to make this real easy and draw out the head using a circle, like so. That's going to be called head. I'm going to make another layer above that one. This one's actually going to be dragged down, but this one's going to be called spine. So basically, there is our guy now. Now he's not rigged. You don't have to rig this to do this. We can actually do this traditional animation too. But I think I might do a quick rig just so this is easier to show you how it all goes. I'm going to go ahead and group all these together as usual. We're going to call this man. And make sure that I center my origin. Can do the same thing on all of these. It's not 100% necessary. It just keeps your layers more organized. So I'll do that real quick. All right. So with that, we're going to actually create some bones real quick. Just a very, very simple rig. So I right click and I convert to bone layer. And on that layer, of course, I make sure nothing is selected and I just start adding my bones. So I'm going to add a pin bone right about here. And then I'm going to add 3 bones. I'm going to back up, add our arm bone, add our other arms bones. And then from here, we will add the leg bone and the other leg bone, like so. Close enough. And then we'll just layer bind all of this so that it just makes sense. We're just going to be on frame 0 on here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the layer and the bone associated. So the layer and the bone. This is just a quick way of setting up a rig to show you the animation. So I'm just gonna click the layer and then what bone I want it bound to. Same thing over and over until we're done. One more, the spine. Now this has 2 separate bones, so I'm gonna do point binding on this real quick. We just click this particular bone and we say use these particular points for that one, or these particular points, I guess. Either way, this works either way. So I'm going to do that, bind those points, and then we can select this last one and bind those points. I will have a whole video on binding points and layers and stuff here coming up. So with that now, when we move these, they'll probably get kind of jacked up, but we'll see. Let's go ahead back to our bone layer. And this is just to show you the timing issue anyway. But let's go ahead and pull off all the strength on these bones. So I'm just gonna grab all of my bones here. and we'll take the power of those and we'll just drag all this to 0. And then now I'm going to grab just a particular bone. See, this works, and all the way down, that should work. It moves the whole figure. So that makes sense. Good. We're good to go, ready to do some animation here. So we have that sketch layer, and we want to make sure that it is on. And what we're going to do is basically just come here and scrub through until we see a change. Now we want all of the bones that we have here in this particular frame to be keyframed at this point. We can just select them all and then hit a key, and then we can move forward until we see the switch right here. And I'm going to do this all on 2s, but we can come in here, hit this switch, and then we can grab the main bone and make sure we move that forward. So this is just showing us a onion skin of where that would be halfway through the last bit. You can see. So we want this about here. I'm sorry. And then now I'm going to take that and readjust the root to match better. And we can start adjusting all these bones around. Just pull that down. All these get pulled down as well. Those are a little off, but that's okay. This is just for demonstration purposes. So now we can move him again. Now this isn't going to be perfect because we don't have the other steps in there, but those can be corrected for too. This is just really just the setup of how to get this all functional. Find my root bone. Let's get that pretty much where it should be. We can move our other bones around. You can see this is less tall, so what I would suggest is bending the back, perhaps, to make that match better. Bend the head down a little even. Can move the arms. Looks like they were going that way anyway. Obviously the legs now can be put in a better position. Something like that. So now we have this to here. And right there is where he needs to be in the full crouch mode. Get it right here where it's supposed to be, at that sort of pelvis area. I'll grab the legs up here. That is my no indicator. Gotta love that. Because I didn't name these, it's going to be a little difficult to kind of figure out which one goes where. We'll just call these what I've got and try to align everything. You get the idea though. That's the point of this. No other point than that. These arms are going to be back, so I might as well get them there already. And I believe that this probably should be bent a little more like so. Let's just get these guys. So they're not going to match the drawing perfectly because, of course, they are better better drawn. You get the idea. They are better proportioned. So it's going to go like so. And eventually we will get the popped up drawing right there. And we'll just keep doing the same thing until it makes some sense. All right, so anyway, I will continue here. We've got this to this pose. Now we have the next one, which is going to start right here. And it's just a matter of moving our same bones around. So we'll just grab this dude, pull him up. Make his arms a little bit farther, like so now. All right, so that'll work from here. Then this, you need to lean him out, obviously. Zoom in and grab that particular one and pull it over here. I'm wondering if I can rotate that one. I don't believe you can. Nope. So I'm just going to move our other bones to make the difference. All right, here we go. So not too bad. If we put in our running steps a little better here, and our positions, you know, height and stuff a little better, but you get that nice jump there. We would just need to throw in some more steps, which we should have done with extra keyframes, but you get the idea. And I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I hope you guys learned something. All right, cool. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.
Well, you